On the 6th of March 2012, Malavika Sarukkai completed 40 years of public performance. The occasion was commemorated not through felicitations or speeches, but through a remarkable, unmarked performance at the Chidambaram temple. As I watched Malavika pay obeisance that day, I saw many things at once. I saw a stream of devotees for whom the dance was incidental to their purpose for being there. I saw a validation of the Hindu belief in darshan, where the act of intensely seeing one's God can become an epiphany. And above all, I glimpsed the interplay of the fount and the flowing stream that so essentially informs the art of Malavika Sarukkai.
I think that's what dance is about. I mean, classical dance. It's like in a moment, we actually want to suggest the infinite. It's not just the beat with the beginning and ending. It's part of a much longer sequence, the unseen sequence perhaps. I mean, the way I started and where I am and what I'm thinking about dance is that it's, I think for me, becoming much more of a meditative, more contemplative kind of form. So if you say, where am I going? I don't know, in that direction. I felt I was in this sort of, womb, or was it a kind of, it's like I was inside something, and nothing mattered. You just don't care. That requires a little bit of giving up, letting go, letting go your image, letting go how you should be perceived, how your dance should be perceived. And it's a very deep dialogue, actually, that one has when you dance like this in front of Sanctum Sanctorum. It's a constant sort of offering. It's a constant offering of the self, of the being, asking for grace, for benediction, for,
That day in Chidambaram, Malavika was especially blessed. As her dance turned more and more into a celebration of the Lord, the temple bells, as if on cue, began to speak. It was magic. This image of the dancer humbled in the presence of the Lord harks back to the beginnings of Bharatanatyam as Chinna Melam, the ritual temple dance of the Devdasis.
Om भवाय देवाय नमः ॐ सर्वाय देवाय नमः ॐ ईशानाय देवाय नमः ॐ पशुपते देवाय नमः ॐ उग्राय देवाय नमः.
By the Middle Ages, the cult of the Devdasi was an inextricable part of life in the temple. Devdasis were very young girls who were dedicated to temple service. They were ritually married to God, and as a result were considered Nitya Sumangali, eternally auspicious. Though Devdasis were included in various rituals, they essentially served God through dance.
The temple had a very busy calendar. Not only a daily calendar, but different utsavams, Vasantotsavam, Navaratri, the Thaipusam festival, the Teppa Utsavam, then dancing in front of the Ter when it was being pulled. So naturally their life was very busy and there were enough dancers to fill all these events. They were dedicated to the art in a way that is incomparable today.
For centuries, Devdasis helped to nourish the art that was to eventually become Bharatanatyam. It is an extraordinary story where sculpture, literature, music and dance enrich one another through a brilliant interplay of the arts. Although Malavika is not dedicated to temple service as a Devdasi would be, I saw a correspondence between her life and that of a Devdasi from several centuries ago. Like the Devdasi, Malavika finds meaning and replenishment in a spiritual and a physical connection with God through dance. And so, like the Devdasi, she has always been married to an idea rather than to a physical person.
I've always felt that when she's with dance, she wouldn't need anybody actually. Dance is her life, dance is her spirituality, dance is her God, dance is her profession, dance is what she has loved. To me, I don't see anything else. Dance, Malavika Sarukkai.
I think the moment I was born, she decided, okay, this young thing will become a dancer, you know. I think she just loved it.
Malavika had very slim figure, agile in her footwork and very strong sense of flair. And she did all very difficult numbers, challenging dance numbers. That was liked by people. Not everybody has got the ability to, just learn and retain it and then present it. Only very few are gifted, very few are dedicated. It's the hard work. It's not mere luck. In Malavika's case, she's a very hard-working girl.
I used to wait for class to get over. I used to be quite happy when Guruji would go out because he had to make a phone call. But she used to drive from Nepinsi Road all the way to Matunga. Then she'll say, run up to the class because he was on the 3rd floor. And it was at old Matunga flats, narrow wooden corridors, which like go up and up and up. And I would be dragging my feet because frankly, I don't want to get to class, I don't want to get to practice, I don't want to go there and all that. And I think what used to distract me the most was that I think he was on the 3rd floor. It's all Brahmin houses. So there used to be the wonderful fragrance of rasam. As I walked,
made in a Brahmin kitchen.
In a Brahmin kitchen. And the Brahmin rasam has a different aroma. So I used to get, derailed on all these things. And she would be telling me from up, go up, run up to class,
Her mother has also given her life not for her daughter but for her dance, for her daughter's dance.
The bird. The bird in flight.
4 times அப்புறம்
அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன பார் பண்ணுறது சொல்லுங்கள். So that every time I tell you I know what I was telling you.
I didn't plan a career for her. No, I couldn't. It was not possible. We had no resources. We had one couldn't.
I don't think we could even look so far into the future. When
yeah.
I went into dancing,
Yeah.
okay, you put me in dance school like when I was 7.
Yeah,
Then I did Arangetram when I was 12.
yeah,
Then the decision to dance,
yeah.
one took at 16.
16 years.
Okay.
Correct.
And dance was a very uncertain path, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know where we were going or
yeah.
what we would find,
Yeah.
right? I was looking for some peace in my life, and dance provided it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And the world around me didn't. It was too fragmenting. It was too, tearing me apart. Can't handle.
It was good that I got through my marriage and finished with it, because otherwise I'd never have been able to do all the things that I did.
I found my freedom in my dance. I think I
Yeah.
found all
Very
the
true.
space and all the freedom and all that exploration in my dance. It became a sanctuary.
Though Malavika experimented with Odissi for a while under Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra, her mainstay was and has remained Bharatanatyam, which she learned from 3 stalwarts: Guru Kalyana Sundaram, Guru Rajaratnam Pillai, and Guru Kalanidhi Narayanan. The dance that had been handed down to Malavika by her gurus was, however, a very different one from the ritual temple dance of the Devdasis. The inexorable march of time had rewritten it in critical ways. The focal point had shifted to the king and his court.
The court audience and ambience was completely different. The poets, the Natuvanas, had in mind the fact that these dancers are not doing rituals. They are entertaining people who are well aware of all these nuances, well aware of the music and the raga system, well aware of the talas and the different intricate footwork which goes with the talas, and then the poetic content, of course, because they were court poets who composed on the spot.
The poetic form most influenced by courtly life was the padam. It combined sensuousness with lyricism and was imbued with the finer aspects of Sringara. A form similar to the padam was the javali. Written mainly in Telugu, it came into its own in the 19th century and dealt with a more worldly love. It was a form that often laced its erotic themes with wit and sarcasm. I discovered a new side to Malavika when she performed Pattabhiramayya's famous javali, Ni Matale Mayanura. This was a courtesan, secure in the knowledge of her beauty and possibly trained in the art of seduction.
Their abodes were decorated suitably to attract visitors. They knew, like Madhavi in the Silapadikaram, how to adorn herself from top to toe. I mean, the couturiers and Chanels of today's world would be put to shame if you read the Silapadikaram on how they adorned themselves according to the season. And this was their calling. They enjoyed it. They were expected to do it and they were appreciated for it. So all this lifestyle got transformed into their arts.
True to form, Malavika refused to allow her portrayal to languish in the put-on anger and sentimentality that often surface in the portrayal of such pieces. Hers is a more complex creature. And despite the disenchantment with the lover, what comes to the fore is not dependence, but the self-assurance of the Naika. You cross such a one at your own peril.
She says, you promised me so many things. Many things. Jewelry. And many fine things. You said you would give this to me, but what happened? So it is in this mood, rather sarcastic, but I have chosen to start the piece with the Naika not waiting for him, because that would mean that she's still waiting for him to give her things. So instead I start with her. She has everything now. And then she says, what happened to the words? See me now. So actually the sting is taken out of what he attempted to do.
And yet, Malavika continued to be dissatisfied with the single dimension of the piece. The next time I saw her perform it, she had added a new idea. she now called the piece The Bird in the Cage. The Nayika and the bird are reflections of each other, beautiful and free of spirit, but trapped by circumstance. With the addition of this simple image, the world of the courtesan is made more universal. Who is the bird? What is this cage? What is the price of love? By the time Pattabhiramayya was composing his Javalis, the dance had increasingly reduced to nautch. The struggle of dancers to make their living from a fickle and peripatetic clientele often led to an easy morality, and poets catered to new masters with novel and, to say the least, surprising compositions.
Oh my lovely lalana, ilane pomanti. Oh my lovely lalana, itu 20 step. Is it fit to take? Sit a while here.
By the 1920s, the Devdasis were looked upon as fallen women. For a time it seemed that not just the Devdasi, but also her cherished art would end up in the dustbin of history.
Oh my lovely lalana.
Communal reform organizations have successfully prevailed upon the Devdasis themselves not to give performance of nautch at public entertainments, even though they have been trained in that art and have attained proficiency in the same.
She says with pride that certain classes in the South have successfully been made to give up even teaching of the art to their girls. What a confusion of purpose and means. Should the art be penalized for a defect of society?
None, even Mr. Krishna here inclusive, will deny that the public holds the same opinion that the Devdasis who dance in public are prostitutes, and none but they.
It is easy to destroy culture, that is a legacy of the ages, but not so to build it up. The legacy of the art of Bharatanatyam is too precious a treasure to be destroyed or dimmed by the confusion of purpose of over-enthusiastic reformers.
In defiance of public censure, Krishna Iyer donned women's clothes and began dancing on stage. These performances were immensely popular. He also helped Devdasis to come out of their cloistered environments to display their traditional art. Slowly, attitudes to the dance changed.
This great ethos of the Devadasi tradition of passion for their own cult, their lifestyle, changed. It became pure passion for dance.
One Brahmin lady broke every rule in the book to make Bharatanatyam her very own, Rukmini Devi. Trained in ballet, she turned to Bharatanatyam at the age of 29.
She had a fantastic personality. I've seen her dance and she looked magical on the stage. She was very tall, not like the Devadasi dancers. She was very light in complexion, fair as they would say, a quotient of beauty always. And her musical selection and her accompaniments were always top class because she brought the best of the Tanjavur musicians to help her to compose the music, sing for her, and so on.
She went on to found Kalakshetra, which was responsible in almost single-handedly institutionalizing the dance. Following the success of Kalakshetra, which started in 1936, Bharatanatyam schools began to spring up all over India.
It was 18,000 rupees for the whole place. You cannot get 1 square foot for 18,000 now in Bombay, especially in Matunga. I think that Ghosal has been recognized for its chastity of style, adherence to the tradition, and sincere interpretation of the Shastras. For any layman, tai tai tam is just a movement. But when you do tai tai tam, it is something different. This is grace. But grace with force is our style. The style is the style. You cannot change the style of Tanjore because it has got basically grace, force, and majesty, strong footwork, intricacy, depth of abhinaya.
They were so strict because they had brought this art form from somewhere else, mostly from the Kaveri Delta, from the different villages of Tanjavur. They had to safeguard this jewel box because it could have easily been stolen, it could have been lost, and it could have been frittered away to become something meaningless and worthless. And I think in my imagination, they could see that their new students, these urban girls, were completely different from the Devadasis. Their lifestyle, their thinking, their habits, their whatever, attitude to Shringara, everything was different. They had to modify what they taught. And those who were intelligent enough to understand those roots went on to develop their own ideas and become individual stars.
In a tradition, only such people make a difference. Initially also she was such a star, she had that quality and that spark. I think now if you see last 20 years, there are dancers, young dancers following Malavika, and we can say, oh, this is Malavika's style of dance. So that's a big thing.
For young aspiring dancers, she was always somebody, at least when I was growing up, she was, I mean, it feels like she's been in her prime for a long time, but you know, she was, you know, kind of just name everywhere, and when you would go to see her perform, it was so inspiring in terms of her dance itself, the choreography, everything.
if you do Nagendra Haraya like this, then it's becoming more like descriptive, right? Whereas if you become the character and then you say Nagendra Haraya, and the presence of, I think what I miss here is the presence of that stillness within all this. You know, if whether you turn the head, does this make a difference, or is it, you know, the haraya, the shoulder? I think we need movement from the shoulder, you know, which is gambhir, which is not a delicate movement of the wrist, but it's gambhir from the shoulder. Then whether if you feel you want to turn, then you say, or Nagendra Haraya. You know, so that this, you know that, right, some things are better expressed without words, you know, just better danced. Huh. So move it from here. Wrist work. Lot of wrist work. Yeah. That's better. That's better. You can continue. Yeah, now especially in a movement like this, we are only seeing your shoulder. So if then you should have enough of this Anga Brahmari that we feel that, you know, because we're not going to see it. So only when it picks up here, we're going to be able to see this. So we need that Anga Brahmari, and we need that serpentine, coiling, turning feeling. This works better. Wrist work. Don't describe it, feel it. Don't describe it. If you do this, it becomes like very fast. We don't know what is happening. Feel that. More wrist work. I've always said you have to do wrist work. More. And why so small you're making it? Make it nicer. But don't. If you do like this, we can't see it also. Like this. Yeah, this works. Yeah, elongated. Elongated. This looks better. More, slower. Feel it. It's going, twining. Exact. This is better. Slow movement. Aram se. No hurry. And feel it coiling and turning and swirling and moving. And then, and feel it. Let that snake wrap around you. So unless you are going to create it like that, we are not going to see it. Otherwise it just becomes, like just, it's very symbolic. It's not visioned. Feel it. Yeah.
Traditionally, in India, the transmitting of the valuable happens through unrecorded conversations, observation, precept, and anecdote.
When I went to Chidambaram, one of the many darshans I had was to stand in front of the temple and you see all the activity around, but when you look at the face, when you look at that, there is a certain stillness, there is a equipoise, there is a center, it is so centered and yet everything is happening around it. And I think that is the energy. When you say describing, especially a piece like this, which I think MS Subbalakshmi made so famous with her singing. It's a beautiful piece in itself, but I think what you need to capture is that the omnipresence and the still center, because I think that is what can evoke.
It's like mentally exhausting, but there's like so much to think about, like I go home full, like it's awesome. And so much has happened within that 3 hours that it's like, then when I practice or I go through that again, it's not like I'm trying to remember. It's like it's hit me during that time. So it's just like a...
I'm an ardent devotee of hers. I have seen her when I was very small. My mother took me to all her concerts, and I would sit in the balcony upstairs and I'll be looking down at this legend.
The last of the great dancers in the Devdasi tradition, Bala Saraswati was one of the most celebrated performers of the 20th century. And a piece she made her own was Krishna Ni Begane Baro, about the relationship between Yashoda and the child Krishna.
Krishna ni begane baro, Krishna ni begane baro.
Dancers can achieve legendary status through oral recountings of their art and through the embellished memory of particular performances. The influence of an icon like Bala Saraswati reaches out across the years through a series of unseen sequences that are difficult to pin down.
Krishna Ni Begane Baro. It's been sung and immortalized by Bala Saraswati, our legendary artist. I'm completely even humbled to perform this piece, to dance this. This is a token of, respect and adoration for her work.
Again and again, I was confronted by the need to understand the complex reference points that Bharatanatyam makes to our mythological stories. In the piece that Malavika performs here, we see the simultaneity of the many Krishnas that are celebrated. We see him as a playful child. We sense the mesmerizing quality of his flute, and that conjures up a whole new set of stories and contexts. But we also realize that Krishna is never too long with anyone. When Yashoda notices that her child has disappeared, she is perturbed. Then, annoyed to discover him at a remove, eating fistfuls of mud. Is this merely a childish prank? And have we gone back to the innocence of an earlier section? Not quite.
ಜಗವನ್ನೆ ತೋರಿತ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ
When Yashoda demands that he reveals what is in his mouth, there is an epiphany. We see now that there, in his mouth, is contained all the worlds. And in that instant, Yashoda and we, the audience, recognize that Krishna is both the playful child and the Lord of the universe.
ಜಗವನ್ನ ತೋರಿತ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜಗವನ್ನ ತೋರಿತ
Much of the expressive abhinaya that has influenced Malavika harks back to her training in the Padam with one of its legendary exponents, Guru Kalanidhi Narayanan.
Chudare adinadiche hoyalu chudare adinadiche hoyalu chudare.
I've often thought about my classes with you and the impact that it made on my life, on my style, on my thinking. You had so many ideas. Oru line edutha, I mean, you could just, the multiple ideas which would come with different, what shall we say?
Shades.
Shades of emotion. I think for young girls to learn Abhinaya from you, to learn about Shringaram, that was itself a difference, Mami. The fact that you came in and taught Abhinaya. When I go back to say 74, 75 and I'm training with you, it was the most glorious time of my training, because it was just dance and it was so complete in itself. And she opened my eyes to the precision and the eloquence of the finest detailing of gesture. Would you say Shringaram is Pradhanam?
Of course. I would even today stand for Shringaram.
Stand for Shringaram.
If I take a padam and where I say, the man has forgotten me, he's not there, what am I to do? Like that. I would take him just like a man, God as a man, and treat him in equal level. That's what I used to do. Even now I do that. And I'm very comfortable.
You see, that is it. She is able to, have this sort of avatara, of God, who comes down and who is able to be within the context of the Shringara Padam.
One day I asked her, after a long time, why are you not doing any of these songs? Saki prana sakuditu this type of connection between man and God, she felt she didn't like it. So she gave up doing the Shringara songs and doing other things.
As she began to find her personal voice, Malavika took on themes that were not sanctioned by the traditional repertoire. In The Lament of the Old Woman, she sees herself as a mother on the burning ghats of Varanasi, confronting the death of her grown-up son.
हस्तं गतो गतो रविः हस्तं கதிரவன் மறைந்த வேளை கதிரவன்
Life was very complete for me at that time, learning from Mami, and that was the world. And I said, nuance of, the fading light and looking into your lover's eyes and, whatever, recapturing moments and all that was. And then life started changing for me, My grandfather died. And then it's like, death doesn't happen to people outside. Otherwise, here somebody died and it's not happening to you, it's happening to someone else. And you kind of pass by it. And then at some point, my grandmother died. And then I was deeply affected by Meera Seshatri, this person who composed music for me. And she was here and she was gone, suddenly. And then death became something which I felt I had to, confront, befriend through my art. what it is to age, what it is to give up the beautiful and the decorative and, the romance of life and say, look, I want to see something else. The energy that I want this body to reverberate with is different because I'm talking of Mahakal. I'm talking of great time. I'm talking of infinity. I'm talking of cosmic. I'm talking of Sakshi. I'm talking of witness. And at that very moment that I'm doing this, I have all these kind of inflow which was flooding me and which I'm drawing from all that to invest in one movement of water.
Jala 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 nam jala 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 rum jala 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 jam jala jala nam jala jala rum jala jala tum jala 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 jala
Banaras, Kashi, Varanasi. A city of many names, a city as ancient as the sound of chanting. Varanasi is much more than a geographical place. It is also and especially an idea, one that has deeply imprinted the work of Malavika Sarukkai. Some of her most striking choreographies are inspired by the images and even more by the sounds of this holy city.
What really got us in sync and so immediate was Varanasi. Because I was doing choreography about Varanasi and I came to him with these ideas, concepts, And the moment I mention Varanasi, I think for Anna too, it's very special, right? I mean, it's...
Varanasi, I spent how many years? I spent 27 years in Banaras. So Banaras has been a great fascination in my life, and Banaras now remains within me. I think the experience that I received there, it gave me an impetus, it gave me a source, to create things.
Most people need sahitya, or they need a very structured, content, which they can set to music. I think with you what happens is I can come and talk to you about concept. I can talk to you about philosophy.
We try a number of possibilities.
Yeah, number of
and
possibilities.
Then when we are together, they say, that's good.
Something which I relate to. If I like a certain phrase, then I say, okay, Anna, that particular one, that works for the concept which I have in mind. Try to understand my concept, and after you've given me the music, it's like it's yours. There's complete freedom. There's no interference, there's no sort of pressure, influence to say, you do it exactly how you want. And then I say, Anna, I'm presenting it today, come.
Professor Chandrasekhar is influenced by a range of musical styles other than Carnatic. His eclectic tastes led to the introduction of new musical ideas into Malavika's performances.
That Ekalakshya, we started with a folk tune, then there was Gambhira Nate. Then you gave me something in Shankara, so saying the different approaches to the one. And then it ends with that whole worship of in Varanasi. So there, when it's Varanasi, I say, okay, Anna, we have to go to Varanasi, And then, even if it's the bells, I remember
if you in the evening, ding, 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 ding.
From text to concepts, from the primacy of the word to the potency of sound. These were journeys of discovery made with fellow travelers, and they took Malavika to some very exciting places. As I began watching more of the dance, I realized that as a lay observer, I was handicapped. Bharatanatyam has a complex and a codified language of its own. Without some understanding of these elements, one is actually adrift in a foreign land, making at best instinctual connections, not informed ones.
When I started training in Bombay with Guru Kalyanasundaram, I mean, we were not even given the names of these. We were simply told to put your hands like this, and we followed him. We imitated our Guru, and whatever he said, if he said this, I did this. Much later I understood, I think a few days before my Arangetram, when my mother was sitting in class, all, listening to every word that Guruji was saying, he said, this is Tripataka, and my mother's eyes lit up. Oh, so this is Tripataka. And so it was very, shall we say, very gradually one came into this hasta names, viniyogas. Viniyogas are in terms of, how can we use them. If we're doing Tripataka, we do Tripataka. Every hasta has to be clear. People are doing like this, people are doing like this, and people are doing like this. I don't know what this gesture is. We have to do Arada Hasta. I only want Hastas have to be like certain and firm. There's no this or that. There's only this, which is this. Kataka, Mukha, Hasta. You do anything else you see. I want only Kataka, Mukha, Hasta, Ala Padma, and then going in slowly into, what is this? Tola Hasta. I mean, it is your universe, gesture language, because suddenly you say, okay, with this I can say lotus, or I can say door, and you say, okay, with different, or I can say crown, or I can say writing. So you say, oh, Tripataka, I can do so many things with it. Urgency, do like that, correct. Who is this urgent question? Who is that? Initially one is imitating, that not only the hasta but the head too, the expression, and is it coy, is it angry, whatever it is, and all those other emotions. If emotion is not internalized into the being of the dancer, then it almost remains like dumb charades. 1, 2, and you sway your body. 3, how many have you done? 7, 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16. The river is flowing, the clouds are there, the peacocks are dancing, the bumblebees are on the flowers. Everything is in place. It's a very beautiful environment. And in that environment, what happens? This Naik Gopi is walking. So you have to remember all that when you do the Gopi walk. So what is bhava? Is bhava only about what you're doing? I think bhava is what you're thinking. So when you have the whole picture in mind, like I described, the whole of this landscape, and then when you situate yourself in it, yes, then you put yourself in that landscape, then what is the, we say, what is the vibhava, lover, beloved? What are the anubhavas? How are you looking? What are the expressions? What is the shringaram? What is happening in the eyes? Anubhava. What are the vyabhichari bhavas? What are those bhavas which are coming and going, coming and going? Sometimes it is excitement, sometimes it is, thinking or thinking about him. Or sometimes it is, how could I think so many things? The body moves with that intelligence of understanding context of the poetry, understanding the emotion, understanding the character. And then it moves, as I said, with its own, the only word I can use is intelligence. With that intelligence, one then can create, I think, choreography which is pushing boundaries, choreography which is, stretching form.
Inspired by the real-life story of Timaka, a barren woman who planted and nurtured trees as her surrogate children, this experimental piece is Malavika's ode to nature.
Am I thinking about the word, the tree, the leaf, the bark, or am I looking at treeness? A certain essence of tree. And if I'm able to touch that moment of essence of tree, I touch a deeper awareness of my being when the word does not exist. And I think it's through those, those moments of passage that one goes towards this, spirituality, luminosity, call it what you want. I think being able to touch that helps you to become a conduit. Otherwise, there is too much of the I, and there is too much of the me, and there's too much of the ahankara and the myself, and that I think it's too much of, I guess, just the me, which is forefronted. But I think awareness gives you it displaces you.
When I watch Malavika in strong narrative pieces such as Hanuman or Mahishasuramardini, I am struck not so much by the pyrotechnics of the choreography as by her ability to become character. There is no doubt in my mind as I watch this that I am in the presence of Hanuman, the playful monkey god. How, I wondered, does Malavika find this quintessence?
I said, I want to become a monkey. I want to become Hanuman. I want to leap. I want to grow. I want to be curious. I want to be wonderstruck. I want to do all that. I want to transform. I want to enter this character. The first time I kind of really danced it. I told my mother I was rehearsing. And she was sitting in rehearsal, and I was trying to do Hanuman, and I was getting the leaps right, I was getting my movement right, I was getting him looking through the the grove, the trees. I mean, I was getting all that, but something was not coming, and I still felt I'm not there. And then at one point, as I was doing my choreography, I did that, and I picked up my tail, and the moment I could physically feel it, I could feel that tail, and then I draped it on my hand and I walked. I said, now I'm there.
Every character comes with its own specific challenges. And besides, the contemporary artist has to deal with both traditional representations as well as the inventive approaches of earlier gurus that have become iconic. This consciousness can be particularly daunting when approaching oft-performed pieces like Mahishasuramardini.
Do I have the technique, do I have the vocabulary to dance her narrative? I mean, a movement like this, which I start. I mean, where did I get that movement? I don't know. Where have I seen it? I don't know. But I wanted to give the masculine sort of, the circle of the gods. I wanted to give patriarch. I wanted to give stasis. I wanted to give rooting. I wanted to give almost immobility. That they're all fixed in their places. The other big question, of course, is Mahishasuramardini, so many arms, what do I do? And normally in dance dramas, they have 10 people standing behind and each one will come out with a different, gesture. And of course, it looks very attractive when Kelu Babu did it, I think, when did he do it? Late 80s, when I was learning with him. The first time he did it, suddenly the Shankha Chakra appeared from behind Rama. He stood like this and suddenly 2 arms, and it was so magnificent as choreography. And then, of course, many people used it and it became cliched, etc. So my question was like, how do I do arms? I had no idea. I wanted to give just multiplicity. I wanted to give movement. I wanted to give energy. I wanted to give circularity. I wanted to give dynamism, and I said, how do I create something like that,
Solutions are sometimes born of inspiration. At other times, there is a conscious reference to the other arts, particularly sculpture.
Mahishasuramardini, again, how do I suggest this cosmic battle, epic? Something which is continuing even now. And then I'm saying, I've seen this relief in Mamallapuram. Fabulous one, when she's standing with her bow and arrow, and he is moving with the mace. And you see, because of body language, you see Mahisha, the shoulders are not like this, they're like this. So the slightest of this gives the tension. There's a slight torso, shift. The detail and the accent of the body says it all.
Although compositions like Mahishasuramardini have often been presented as ensemble pieces, Malavika has always preferred to present her choreographies as solo performances. This could have been a truly solitary journey were it not for one very important collaborator, Saroja Kamakshi, her mother.
She came into the research part of it. She came into the edit part of it, do something, Ma, how does it look? Okay. And, she had a sharp mind, intuitive mind to be able to say, okay, this works. That was huge help for me.
I mean, I was always interested in philosophy and in the marvelous, what is the word I would like?
Wisdom?
Wisdom? Wisdom, yes, and in the marvelous wisdom contained in our shlokas, in the Upanishads and so forth, and how that could be adapted to our own needs for expressing through our art forms.
Malavika was fortunate to have her mother as a rock of support for over 3 decades.
I think our teamwork was fantastic. We'd both want to go to the theatre, check out the lights.
Yeah.
We didn't have any conflicting ideas on that. And she was the only person I would allow in my dressing room who could actually stay in my dressing room, because she would sit very quietly behind me normally. You remember?
Yeah.
And, just sit quiet. And in between she'd go off, go check the lights, go do this, do one little 2-3 chakkars.
I'd go and do some chakkars.
You do some chakkars? Right up to the, control wall?
Light control room.
And come back. And I think
that was my favorite one. Yeah.
You were manager, you looked after finances, then you were in the creative part of it.
Yeah.
You were in my dance room and I'm choreographing. So which one did you like? Did you like being manager?
Yeah, I like being manager and telling people what to do, and
that's it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. But
Once Saroja Mami retired from active participation in her daughter's professional life, it was Malavika who had to deal with every aspect of her dance, from creative to logistics.
I don't think we have a generator. There is a generator. But Ravindra said no. Ravindra. You look please. No. Arthavaram is he's promising me on camera by next week. Every trial, every blouse, every hook, every button, every alteration is like, and everything is just in the head, They don't write down. It's not like a shop where you go and people write down all the details. Here you just say it and go, and it's hopefully remembered. And sometimes forgotten. But again, by the time I come, immediately special. Third, music. I don't think our organizers, by and large, most of them understand the need for complete technical setup. And then actually, our first concert invariably is the first time we've ever got to do it with the light and sound, because otherwise it's just sitting in this room discussing the light and sound, and finally going there and in about 1 hour saying, okay, am I getting highlight? Okay, what pose? Where do I stand? Okay, have you put a glow sticker? Because sometimes they don't put a glow sticker, you can't find out. You're completely blinded by the lights and you're looking at the end and saying, okay, you know what, I have to end somewhere. And it's chaos because we are looking and there is, so there's a lot of, what shall I say, uncertainty.
Malavika spoke to me of many journeys, but one that stayed with me was of her trip to Winterthur. For it was here, in this cloister, that she made a discovery that has since defined the way she looks on her dance.
Finding the gong in Winterthur, it reaffirmed the purpose of my art. Putting the striker on the gong is really the sadhana. It is the years of sustained practice. You can't quite remove the striker. You've got to keep And then, of course, the striking of the gong being the visible, the ripples, the sound, the people, the audience, that aspect of dancing. And then the show's over. Till you put your ear to the gong. Then the resonance.
From that gong in Winterthur to those temple bells of Chidambaram that started me on my quest, the resonance remains. I heard it in the chants of a living tradition that still informs the dance in critical ways. I heard it in songs that celebrate God and man, cosmic battles, and eternal love stories. And I heard it after the applause had faded in the silence of a makeup room that spoke of the need, above all, to keep the faith.
I put a huge demand on myself to dream. And I say, I will not give up my dreaming. I will not. Because those moments of ecstasy are like nothing I can ever experience in the empirical world. Come what may, I will move.
Sani da ba ma ga re sa ni sa ga ma ba ni sa. Sani da ba ma ga re sa ni sa ga ma ba ni sa. Sani da ba ma ga re sa. Ni sa ga ma ba ni sa. Sani da ba ma ga re sa. Ni sa ga ma ba ni sa. Ni sa ga ma ba ni sa. Sani da ba ma ga re sa.